So why are you running for U.S. Senate, and what is your pitch to voters?
I am so excited to announce today that I'm running for the open U.S. Senate seat here in Michigan to lay out a vision for a new American dream for Michiganders as a direct counter to Make America Great Again. What we know is that in the 1980s, 5 of the top 10 metro regions in the entire country for median household income were in Michigan. Now, none of the top 10 are. We can't go backwards, but we have to go forwards. This is going to be about ensuring you can afford to buy the house in the community that you want to live in, that you can afford to send your kids to a great school, that there's great parks. I would be one of very few young parents in the U.S. Senate, so thinking about universal paid leave and child care. And safety for folks, that you've got safe communities, your fundamental rights are protected, and that Michiganders won't have to worry about the negative impacts of gun violence, which has been a huge issue of mine for my time in the legislature.
How long have you been thinking about running for U.S. Senate?
You know, both for a while and strangely for a very short time. I came into the state Senate in the wake of Donald Trump's first election. I quite literally Googled how to run for office because I wanted to find an avenue to make a change in my community that I wasn't seeing happen. I've now been in the legislature for 6 years. I'm the Senate Majority Whip. And with term limits in Michigan, I was always thinking about where can I go next to continue building on the work that we have started and done great work in the legislature. So this was always on my mind, but I don't think that many people anticipated Senator Peters' announcement when it happened.
And when that happened, you knew you had to make a decision quickly.
I knew that we had to start exploring very quickly. This is not a decision that I take lightly. The most important thing to me is that Democrats hold on to this seat in Michigan. We are watching Republicans in the Senate really just abdicate their responsibility, turning over all control and checks and balances to Donald Trump. And we see the impacts of slashing Medicare, slashing Medicaid, gutting Social Security. That's not acceptable for Michiganders. So this was an exploration with my family, with stakeholders and residents all across the state to make sure this was something we could do and be successful.
You have a new book out?
I do.
And it's called Hate Won't Win, Find Your Power and Leave This Place Better Than You Found It. How have you done that as a state senator?
I'd always wanted to write a book, and I was approached in 2022 after I had a speech that went viral by a number of publishers to ask me to write a book, but it wasn't the right time. I had the opportunity through that experience to travel the country and talk to people in red states and blue states and all over Michigan who said, I want to get involved, I want to do something, I have no idea where to start. So that's what this book is. It is a little bit about my story, but it's a practical guide that I wrote every morning from 4 to 7 a.m. before my daughter woke up, before my phone started ringing, and before I had to go to my job in the state Senate.
Let's talk about your viral floor speech from 2022. And it was in response to a fundraising email by your Republican colleague who accused you of being a progressive social media troll who wants to groom and sexualize kindergartners or tell 8-year-olds they're responsible for slavery. How did that moment impact you as a public official?
I mean, it hurt just on the idea that a colleague of mine could say whatever she wanted about me, whether it's true or not. And that is where our politics has gotten to. I mean, let's call this what it is. A groomer is somebody who befriends a child for the purpose of molesting them. That is a horrible thing to accuse somebody of. And this was a mother accusing another mother of that really horrific thing. But I also recognized in that moment that as horrible as I felt, I was fine. You know, this was a political attack where there are people who feel this pressure every single day. And I felt like it was my responsibility to stand up for them and to blow up these attacks and turn the attention back onto the issues that really matter for people, which is not attacks like this.
How does that moment compare to what we're experiencing now?
It's a lot of the same. You know, throughout history, there's always been a scapegoat. There have been politicians and leaders who weaponize people's very real frustrations, that if you are not doing as well as you wanted to, that it's somebody else's fault. And that's an easy way out. It is really easy to lead by fear. It is much harder to lead by hope and by policies that actually uplift everybody without trying to harm the most marginal among us.
You've been openly critical of the Democratic Party. What solutions do you have for the party, and how would you describe the current state of the Democratic Party?
We have a lot to rebuild. I think that we have to rebuild trust with people. When I talk to voters all across the state of Michigan in the 2024 cycle, what they knew about the Democratic Party was that we were anti-Donald Trump. They heard messaging like Donald Trump is a dictator and a fascist and that this is the end of democracy. But a question that I heard was, but what do Democrats stand for? It's not enough to be against Donald Trump. I think we should rightfully call out all of the chaos that he is unleashing on our country right now, all of the unrest that people feel. But we also have to talk about what's next. This is Donald Trump's second term. There will be a future after Donald Trump, and it's on us to recapture the American dream and talk to people about the fact that if you work hard, you should be able to live that life you've always dreamed of. And I'm a Democrat because I fundamentally believe that our policies support that for people.
Some people within the Democratic base say Democrats right now are not fighting back hard enough. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I think that it's important not to fight just for the sake of fighting. There is so much noise out there. I don't want to see the Democratic Party's response be to just try to go viral and try to pick fights. People want to see that you fight for them and you fight for something. We're getting together the day after we saw Cory Booker speak for 25 hours on the Senate floor and use that time to talk about Strom Thurmond. And the reason that he is able to be in the Senate is because of legislation that Strom Thurmond fought against to uplift the stories and voices of his constituents. He was reading letters from his residents about the impact and fear they feel about losing Medicaid, about not being able to access Social Security, and it gave voice to the voiceless. So when I think about what we fight for, we have to show that we believe in a future and that that is a future worth fighting for you, not just fighting for the sake of fighting.
How tough is this campaign going to be? We know you have the primary, and then whoever becomes the general election nominee, how tough of a Senate campaign will this be?
This is going to be a grind, but it is a grind worth having. This is a fight worth having. Michigan is going to be the epicenter of the political universe once again in 2026. This is really the major battleground state that is in play. In a seat that we saw Alyssa Slotkin win 2 years ago by the narrowest of margins. So we know this is not going to be easy. We launched today, and people can learn more at McMorrowforMichigan.com about how to get involved, how to volunteer. I'm excited to get out and meet people and bring people on board to build something new together.
My final question is, a lot of people may not know who you are. What would you tell them about yourself? And what about you would surprise them?
That's a great question. What about me would surprise them? I have a Hot Wheels car that has my name on it, which is pretty cool for the 4-year-old demographic. They can't vote yet, but they think that that's pretty cool. I have a very different background than I think people might expect from me. I grew up in a really rural area. I pig sat for my neighbors. I've been working since I was 12. I was a bartender. I've had a very diverse set of lived experiences. And I think if you just know me from one floor speech, you may not know that. But what I love about this job, and it surprised me, is that it gives me the freedom to meet people who have very different backgrounds and lives than I have. And just fall in love with the state in different ways every single day.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.